Good day, Internet.
Good
Hello,
day,
Internet.
Internet.
What is going on, Internet? How
Internet?
y'all
What?
been?
What in the heck or who is happening?
It's been a minute, Internet. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks.
Rob, where have you been, Rob? Goodness gracious.
Right here.
Missed you.
Right here,
dearly.
because I clearly don't know how to plan my vacations where I could have gone on vacation last week when we literally had no shows to do. So what do? I plan my vacation for next week when I have what shows to do. So yeah, I'm on vacation next week.
Life gets in the way.
It's still
sometimes.
a holiday weekend, so it's like I don't have to worry about Monday or anything like that.
You know, in the U.S., Labor Day is Monday, next Monday. I don't know, I got some email about it and I was like, what do you mean Monday? People are, like banks are closed. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's September next week. It's just barreling at me fast.
We're in
Can't
one of
even
those.
believe it.
We're in one of those situations where time is flying. Like, man, it's September already. But we're also, it's like, man, it's only September. It's like, can we just get the year over with? Let's get to next year and see if it's anything different.
You're right.
So
Yes.
I am on both sides of my brain. Maybe it's like different temporal lobes or something like that. I'm perceiving time differently depending on what I think about.
Now, do you feel like, after, on New Year's Day, 2026, that, everything magically just is better?
No, I don't feel that. I just feel like, like I said, man, it's already September, and man, it's only freaking September. I mean, it's not 2028 yet. So, yeah, it's.
I hear you.
Yeah, it's bizarro world.
It is
So,
bizarre for sure. No, I know. I months ago, I was like, haha, like I always do this joke, like it's almost Christmas. And people are like, that's crazy. It's February. And it's like, well, it actually is almost Christmas. And blink and you miss it. Here we are.
So I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but did anybody talk about the, Google and what they're doing with now you have to have your apps signed? Was that a story at all this week?
Yes.
So I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering what you guys thought about that, because I didn't hear what what did you think? Is that a big deal or not a big deal?
To have your app signed by you.
Well, the developer has to, they've got to sign their apps before they submit them. Whereas before they didn't have to do that.
Hopefully that cuts down on the amount of malware or pupware that gets squeezed in onto the Play Store.
So initially I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't I have the opportunity to install whatever kind of crap I want to on my phone?
Yeah, side loading is going to be more difficult.
But side loading isn't all that onerous on an Android phone.
Well, it potentially
Will
could
be now.
It will be now, because now those apps have to be signed.
Yeah, so that was Monday's show. Episode 5090.
I didn't want to rehash it. I was just like, I didn't know if we talked about it or not, and just wanted to. I know that that you, Roger, use Android, so I was just kind of wondering.
It's weird because I sideload stuff not on my phone but on my Shield, but I don't really do it all that often, and there are very few apps that I would need to use on a regular basis that I would need to sideload anyway. So I think from Google's point of view, it probably just it probably makes things a little less onerous when it comes to managing a lot of the Play Store. Like, just make sure get it signed so we don't have to vet everything.
It's kind of like, if you're going to do that, you might as well just get an iPhone.
Yeah, but I can't get an iPhone from like 5 or 12 or a dozen different manufacturers. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. Just the
one. I mean, I guess you could do. I mean, there's
All right, you're not going to get a Samsung iPhone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a Huawei iPhone.
Nope. Not going to happen.
And you can do different launchers. There's a lot of ways to make Android phones super customizable. Although, in day-to-day use, not a big deal.
Right? It's not a big deal for most folks, except for the folks it's going to be a big deal for. Like I said, it would not be a big deal for me. But it would be a big deal for me if there was any app that I wanted to install and I just couldn't because they no longer offer it, or I've got to do some crazy stuff to figure out how to get it.
And Rob, you've never had an iPhone, correct?
That's not true.
Oh,
I have never had an iPhone as my primary phone, with the exception of the original iPhone, which I ended up putting back in the box and taking back.
got it.
It wasn't because, well, no, I will say this: the original iPhone, the OS, it kind of sucked. And I think anybody who had the original iPhone that was coming from a BlackBerry or a Palm Pilot or whatever the case they were coming from, they would have agreed with me on that. It was not great on the first
BlackBerry
one.
fans across the board were like, no.
But the thing for me was that I've got ginormous hands, and I was so used to typing with my thumbs on a BlackBerry. I could be making this up, but I think that like gum, that like chiclet pieces of gum are actually bigger than the original iPhone. They were just so small, and I was like, my hands cramped up using them, and I was like, and then like it didn't have any apps. It was just like, this is why am I switching carriers? Because I had to go to AT&T, also to get it, and I'm like, this is just more trouble than it's worth. So I ended up returning that one. But I have had iPhones throughout the years. I've probably had 4 or 5 of them. They just so I could ultimately talk about them and see what people are saying about them, from a technologist standpoint of view. But I've just never switched over to it as my primary driver. And the biggest reason has been up until the time that they started making iPhones big, I could just get big Android phones, and they were just too small. And by the time they started making them big, it was like, well, at this point, I'm really into the Samsung, the Samsung ecosystem, and I liked it, so I just never switched back.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine that you're not alone in that. Speaking of Blackberries and iPhones, I know, 1 minute. Real quick, I went from the BlackBerry Pearl, which was a tiny little thing.
I had one of those.
I loved that phone. And I went to an iPhone where I was like, this is too big. And I look at the original iPhone now, because I've got the Pro Max, and I'm like, I don't even know how did we live with this tiny little phone, tiny screen.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Very, very, very different. It's amazing how we adapt to things and then forget what we used to do.
Sarah, next time you and I are together, we have to compare the size of our hands, because my gut tells me that my hands are. I can palm a basketball with 2 fingers. That's how big my hands are.
My hands are pretty big, Rob.
My thumb and middle finger, I can palm a basketball.
The thing is, Sarah's very scaled. So as soon as you make her bigger or smaller, she doesn't look any different.
Have a good show, everybody.
Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, August 28th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
DTNS Live is made possible by you, thanks to all of you, including that Charlie Dude, Justin Zellers, Carmen Bailey, and our brand new patron, Hector Caba.
Yay!
Hector Caba. Yay!
Hector Caba. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Hector Caba.
Hey, man. I mean, you have a cool, fun name. We're just, we're welcoming you as best we can. We love new patrons. Thank you, one and all, for being with us. And thank you to everybody for being with us today on DTNS Live, the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. Robb Dunewood, how you doing?
I'm doing great. We're almost in September.
We are
in that conversation on. It's like, just cannot believe that we're almost 9 months in. But then on the other side, it's like, are we only 9 months in?
It feels like a decade. Are you kidding me?
2025 has been interesting for a variety of reasons, and anybody out there who's had either a fun, easy, or difficult year, do let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. But yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I'm like, it's September tomorrow, almost. But yeah, it is. That's what's happening.
So much to do. Oh, so much to do.
Roger Chang, I know you've got a lot on your plate, but how you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right. It's a little less boiling up here in the northern Central Valley, which is great as September rolls in. Still get a bit of that extended summer 90s degree weather, but hey, what do you do? It's the Central Valley. It's
90 degree from the 90s? That's very Central Valley of you.
It's people have always said this area is about a decade behind when it came to like styles and stuff. And only when I look at my yearbook do I say, yeah, I totally see it. Like I didn't see it when you're in the middle of it, but when you look back on it, it's like, oh, I see it now. You mentioned it once to me in the office. You look through my yearbooks, like Roger, why is your
I did?
Yeah, you went through my 1992 graduation. The year I graduated high school, you went through my yearbooks like, Roger, it's the 92. Why is everyone dressed like it's the mid 80s?
I did? Oh my gosh, I do not remember this. But we should go through my yearbook sometime because I think we were far ahead of you when it really comes down to it. My goodness. Robb Dunewood, when's the last time you looked at your yearbook?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute, but I am proud to say that I am right now the same weight that I graduated high school. I'm actually my high school playing weight. Now that was a lot.
How about that?
When I graduated high school, but yes, I've lost a little bit of weight over the summer, and I'm back down to the weight I graduated high school, a slim 288 pounds.
Just in time for the holiday season.
288 fighting weight.
Yeah.
Loves it.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you're watching live, you can name this episode. Head over to dtns.showbot.tv to submit titles and vote on them. You can submit as many as you want. You can vote as often as you like. We'll check back at the end of the show to check in and see what titles are popping. But before we do, let's kick it off with a few stories that caught our eye. We've got to pour one out for Typepad, folks, the blogging service that's been around since way back in 2003 and it's closing its doors on September 30th. They stopped new signups back in 2020, but now it's time for everyone to move on. After September 30th, you won't be able to get into your account or see old posts. So if you want to save your stuff, you can export it to movable type import format for WordPress. Typepad is stopping subscription starting on August 31st, and you'll get a prorated refund for any recent payments if you are already paid through sometime beyond September 30th. So, yeah, Typepad's been around for a long time.
So I was a movable type and then Typepad subscriber. It's been a very long time since I posted anything to the platform, but just for kicks today, because I knew we were going to talk about this, I was like, saralane.typepad.com. And there is a website that still exists. And I am telling you, I don't even remember any of these things. It was kind of like pre-social media days where people just blogged about all sorts of things, like very personal stuff. And, good, bad, ugly, all good stuff. I believe that I've saved all of this stuff to a WordPress repository. I'll have to check that out again. But yeah, for anybody who was like, yeah, Typepad was my jam, and stuff that you care about, do look into figuring out, how to save that data if you want it.
Well, let's see. That's 2003. So since Roger is living 10 years behind us as far as style, do you have any pictures on your Typepad of Roger wearing like some British Knights and like, some parachute pants or something like that?
I probably have some photos of Roger on my Typepad somewhere. Yeah. Don't know what he would be wearing, but yeah, probably.
I could never pull off parachute pants, even in my younger years.
I couldn't either. No, I'm too little.
I would look ridiculous. It looked like I fell into one of
too much parachute.
That was the point, though, Roger. That was the point. It's
but you have to be of a certain build, and I was not of that build.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you could revisit that. Parachute pants. They're back in style.
They are back in style.
Yeah.
It's true. I every time I drive by a bunch of kids, it's like, wait a minute, like this feels like I never left.
A collection of kids, where you're just like, hi, I love your parachute pants. All right, YouTube TV and Fox came to a temporary agreement, perhaps not temporary, but temporary for now, to keep Fox channels, including Fox News and Fox Sports, available to YouTube TV subscribers. This prevents a blackout prior to the college football season, which kicks off with the Texas versus Ohio State game on Fox, a game that a lot of people would be interested in. The dispute started with YouTube accusing Fox of excessive demands, then Fox accusing Google of exploiting its influence.
So here's what I know. I know that Fox is blaming YouTube and YouTube is blaming Fox, but I also know that Fox has just started a streaming service. And for if this wouldn't have gone through, they would have been telling everyone who was on YouTube, hey, you can come over to us. And, because people here in Columbus, at least, and in fact, not in Columbus, just in Ohio, and I'm sure in Texas as well, they would sign up to that service just to catch that game if they're not physically at the game. So that was a big deal. I knew that this would get settled before that game was played.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in 24 hours, it went from, well, you might not get Fox on YouTube TV anymore to, yeah, the company's handshake agreement, at least for now. Yeah.
All right. Microsoft is expanding Xbox Cloud gaming service access to Game Pass Core standard access to Game Pass Core and standard subscribers, no longer requiring the Ultimate tier, which costs $20 a month. Now, Xbox Insider users can now stream select cloud, and as part of an Xbox Insider test, PC games as well as part of this new setup. The move aligns with Microsoft's push for more affordable and accessible cloud gaming options. And this sort of dovetails on our discussion yesterday with Scott, who was talking about how PlayStation was kind of leaning into their strengths as kind of as all these companies kind of look forward to as the landscape continually changes. Microsoft is leaning into what it does best, and which is online services.
I'm a fan because I'm getting to where I want to play my games wherever I am, and oftentimes I'm in places where my Xbox is not. So if I can stream these games and play them on a tablet or a laptop, or a set top, like something that I could carry with me, like a Chromecast or something even, or if Microsoft comes out with a device like that to where you could actually just stream to whatever TV you plug it into, I'd be a fan of that.
And it would make traveling and playing games a lot easier.
Well, Roger, you've been traveling quite a bit. Are you traveling and playing games?
Not while I'm traveling. Usually at my destination I do, though.
Well, those are 3 top stories that caught our eye today. All right, let's face it. Everybody drops things. Google launched the Pixel Care Plus, a new device protection program replacing Preferred Care and Fi device protection in the U.S. So the new plan includes unlimited accidental damage claims, extended warranties, free screen and battery repairs, genuine Google parts, so says the company, and priority support with optional loss and theft coverage as well. Pricing starts at $10 a month. That seems to be the new normal, or $200 for 2 years. Now, Rob, I know that you are an Android fan. Would this pricing make sense to you?
If I only used the Pixel and that was my sole phone, I probably would. But because I've literally at any time have 3, 4, 5 phones that if I were to damage one, I could just very easily switch over to another one. It's not for me. But I think about like my sister. My sister has cracked the screen on her phone within 24 hours of getting it. Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
So for her, this absolutely makes sense. In fact, it makes sense for pretty much anyone who, if you're going to carry your phone naked without a case on it, it makes sense to do this because you are going to eventually, have your phone in your pocket and you're going to bump into something and you got a crack on your screen. You weren't being careless, just life just happened. And if you're at the beginning of that contract, you have to go out and buy a whole brand new phone. as compared to if you just pay an extra $10 a month, it's covered for you. So I think this is a good thing for a lot of people, because it bothers me when I see folks walking around with duct tape, or not duct tape, but like Scotch tape on their phone, trying to hold the glass together because they've cracked it. It's like,
That was
that's
so
dangerous.
me.
Those shards of glass are pretty sharp. You shouldn't be doing that. So get your phone fixed.
I mean, the cheapest Pixel right now is like a 6A, and you're looking at $250. But if you want one of the flagship phones, you want a foldable, you're paying close to $1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And if you just happen to be Mr. and Mrs. Butterfingers all the time, I mean, it's not a bad deal, right? And because if you think about it, it would be cheaper it would be cheaper to have the service and then break the screen and you get a replacement, or at least repair on it, rather than go through the whole thing of, I just dropped my $1,000 phone. Now I got to cough up another grand if I want something similar, or just pay a few $100 for a much lesser experience.
I mean, the whole insurance, with technology thing, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just be careful. It won't happen. But it will. It will. I remember when I dropped my first iPhone, like in the toilet. Just long story. But, this was like many cycles back, and it wasn't going to come back from it. No amount of, storing and rice was going to make that iPhone come back. And you have to just buy a new iPhone. And that's obviously very expensive and, just kind of horrible. Now, we're talking about, obviously, Pixel phones at this point, but, in the Pixel line in general, which applies to Pixel phones 8 and up, the Pixel Watch 2 and up, Pixel tablets, Fitbit devices, not all of them, but select. Stuff happens. It just does. It just does.
If you've got a phone that you've paid all this money for and you use it as a tool, it's something that you use. I mean, most people probably touch their phone, what would you say, on average 20 times a day or more? Probably more than that for some folks. Easily 20 times a day, you pull your phone out and you look at it. Stuff can just happen. Like, so you just got your keys in your pocket and you sit down in a seat that's kind of squeezing your hips, and you crack your screen. There's so many things that can happen. It simply, in my opinion, just makes sense. And I would do it if I did not have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phones that all work, that are right here.
You have your own insurance right now.
Yeah, I have my own insurance because I buy multiple phones. Regularly. I buy, I sell a lot of phones too, but I go through a lot of phones and have multiple phones with me at all times that are activated. So I don't need the insurance because I kind of have it by the nature of having multiple phones. But if you've only got the one thing, you want to make sure that if that thing gets damaged, you don't have to go out and shell another $700, $800, $900, $1,000 if you all the way broke the phone, or a couple $300 to get your screen replaced if it was just something as easy to do as cracking your screen.
Right before our experiment week, so I didn't talk about this on the show, although I would have otherwise. My poor iPhone. Sorry, iPhone. He's in another room. I dropped him 2 stories onto flat concrete with water damage, and had to go back to the Apple store and get not a new phone, but a new screen. Everyone at the Apple store, again, this is obviously not, Google employees, but they were like, yeah, I think it's just your screen. Let's just fix the screen and figure out what's going on. Now, that was covered by AppleCare, which I paid for. And I have not paid for AppleCare in the past because I'm like, I'll just be careful. Nothing bad will happen. You know what happens? Something bad. Mm-hmm. Always. It's insurance. It really like again, do you? But I will never go back from that at this point.
And this is sort of implies that Google understands that the way forward for a lot of the products that they sell or the attached services, right? And one of the things about insurance plans like this is it sort of keeps you within the Google
Of course.
ecosystem, right? Because like, oh, it's a Pixel phone, so you get a replacement Pixel phone. You're it's like if your dealership offered you auto insurance, yeah, of course you'd probably buy your next car from that dealership because it sort of keeps you within that.
Well, because you've already bought for the care for
exactly
them to yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like a one-time purchase. It's more of like a 5-year purchase.
You're buying. I don't want to say you're buying loyalty, but you're buying a level of you're selling a level of influence.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in case. Just in case stuff happens. It always sucks to have insurance and never need it, but it sucks way worse to need insurance and not have it.
Not have it.
Yeah.
It's way worse on the other side.
Oh, man. Oh, I am telling you. All right. So, Rob, let's talk about Will Smith, the rapper, actor, and apparently coming back into the scene.
So Will Smith he's come back. He's actually doing a tour where he's on stage for the first time in 20 years. But his comeback is facing some skepticism because due to an alleged AI generated crowd promotional video, folks are raising concerns about whether it's genuine fan support or not. Now, when I first heard this story, I think I heard it over the weekend, and I actually went and looked at the pictures. My first thought was like, Will Smith, dude, this is what you're doing now for real? This is what we're doing? But then as you dig into it more, what it looks like is that his social media team may have actually taken regular pictures that were actual pictures that were taking at the event, then put them into some type of AI tool to make a video from that, because that's exactly what these things look like.
So for everybody who's watching the video right now, it's like, this is crazy AI. Like, look at all these hands. Yeah. It's so
look at the
insane.
faces.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like it's like everyone's melting. It's weird. But if they're coming from actual photos to
right.
begin with.
So it was a TikToker, Dave Jorgensen, actually, ran a video where he's showing that. So here's what it looks like. Here's the actual picture. Here's what was derived from AI. So he's showing that. So he's not faking the crowd. The crowds were there, but the AI just didn't do a good job. It was actually misspelling words on the sign.
The AI
People
after
arms,
the original photo.
Yeah,
original photo is so much better.
It was, but it gets even worse because YouTube, who was it? Renee Ritchie from YouTube had to actually come out and say, hey, so yeah, what had happened is that when you put your stuff into like YouTube Shorts, we actually do enhance it a little bit. We're not doing AI generation, but we are using AI to make your pictures look a little better. So here's what you have. You had a real picture that was turned by Will Smith, I'm assuming his social media team, turned into an AI video. And then the AI video was enhanced even further with more AI, making these pictures look absolutely crazy. So he's getting read the riot act right now. But the initial stories were like, you are trying to pull something over on us. And I don't believe that was actually the case. I think what they were trying to do is use some of these new tools. Like, hey, here's a still picture. What happens if we make make that 8-second video from the still picture? But after all the AI and after all the enhancements and everything got, and then the internet got a hold of it, it turned into like he's faking crowd size and this and that and the other. So I just thought it was an interesting story that it's probably not what it appears to be initially. Probably still something that someone of Will Smith's stature, at least his team, should have said, you know what, we might not want to do any type of manipulation of crowd sizes because we're going to hear about that if we do. But that's where we are. And it just had me thinking about how this is not the end of this. Will Smith will not be the first nor the last person that will be accused of doing these kind of things. But the problem is going to become where we are probably a year or two out from where you won't be able to distinguish fact from fiction. It's, it's literally going to be, well, who you want to believe, me or your lying eyes. I think we are all going to go back to that Groucho Marx joke from way back in the day, because you won't be able to tell. Here, you can clearly tell, but there will be a time when you won't be able to tell. So I'm wondering how the fans will react when they don't know if something is real or not.
And And that's sort of the big question, right? Like, so how do you measure authenticity, and how do you signal authenticity in an age where everything can be supposedly replicated digitally without people being any wiser to things that have been adulterated? And I think you'll see. I think you'll see culturally kind of a pushback against this, not directly where people are making a rampaging against data centers that are processing different LLMs and stuff, but you'll see instances or perhaps a movement where people. And I've said this before, like you've had on Instagram where people are using hashtag no filters, at a point where people are like, well, everyone's tired of filters. Let me just give you the unvarnished, uncensored, unfiltered aspects of my life. And I think you might see something similar. I don't know if it involves watermarking things or having certain time codes like in the video itself, whether it's on stage, like as part of a show. So. It's something that society will need to get used to and adapt to.
Well, so the idea of adapting to something being, whatever original has been formatted in some way is, in the past, it was like, oh, that's photoshopped, right? Like we're all familiar with that term. Is it, the cover of Vogue magazine where somebody has been photoshopped to look, prettier than they are normally. That
Even
kind
before
of thing.
Photoshop, it was
Airbrushing.
It was airbrushing back in the day. So we've always had this.
Yeah.
And I think that, to your point, Roger, it is, there is a fatigue. People are getting tired of AI. I know me personally, if I feel like I'm dealing with a bot from a customer service standpoint, and it does not answer every single question that I need instantaneously, I'm upset and I'm hitting zero. Give me an operator, please. Get human person, actual human being, to try to get to a human as quickly as possible. So that kind of backfires. Whereas if I didn't know it to be AI, I probably wouldn't have reacted as quickly. I still don't have a lot of patience, but definitely not when I know that it's a robot on the other end, because you understand me. You just don't know how to answer the question.
Well, I mean, going back to what you were mentioning about photoshopping and airbrushing magazine covers, I mean, that is where a lot of the kind of body dysmorphia issues in young people, especially because they see these things and they don't understand that they've been processed. Exactly. And so they have, and people, there's already sort of minor documented cases of people having very unrealistic body standards because AI generated images of especially women's bodies are so unrealistic, but they're sort of set on a pedestal of like, this is the ideal. And of course, no human could ever reach it because it's impossible.
Well, and the whole, this whole thing like shopped, like we've been hearing this for so long, all of us who, have been in the tech game for a while. It's like, we know that you can doctor up a photo and a video. More, the video much more now these days. But you can do that, and that's possible. And you just kind of like, keep your wits about you. Understand when that happens, when that doesn't happen, and appreciate both, right? So the AI fear, I think that a lot of people have, is that we're losing the plot. We don't understand when it's happening and when it isn't. But I feel like it's all kind of the same thing. It's like, just know, keep your wits about you. Understand, is that the photo that, it probably exists? Or is that something different? And then it comes into, video and, gaming and all sorts of stuff.
I see a lining in this particular case with Will Smith and his team. They could lean all the way into this. Like, yes, we absolutely used AI, but you know what? XYZ company reached out to us and they do this so much better. So the next time you see a photo that looks a little bit like it's AI, but it looks better than this, just know we've partnered with, and then like their logo comes up on the screen or something like that. So you just lean all the way into it, because that would be kind of cheeky. Folks know, well, you're using AI not to generate crowd size, just to try to see what some of these features are, as compared to people think you out here are literally saying that you had, there's 12 people in the room and you made it look like you had 12,000 12,000. Or in his case, you had 12,000, but you try to make it look like you had 60,000. So, maybe they should just lean into it, because if you're going to be putting stuff on social media, you probably are going to touch it up and do this stuff. Just lean all the way in. It's like, yes, this is what we're doing. Can you make this picture look any better? Here's the original, and just kind of, like I said, play into it, and you probably would get some goodwill out of it, because right now they are not getting any goodwill out of this.
Goodwill.
Pun
Get
intended.
it? Goodwill.
Pun intended.
Yep. No, good one, Rob.
So, folks, if you are itching, and I mean itching, to show your love for DTNS, we've got dozens of ideas at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Pick up a mug, a t-shirt, our DTNS live bumper sticker, put them on your car, on your bedroom wall, or even your laptop. They're a great way to show and make great gifts. Visit the store at dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Well, we talk about AI. Whether you like it or not, it is a part of all of our lives. From AI customer service to AI coding, technology is finding its way into almost every business category. However, some businesses may be having a bit of a rethink. Roger, what do you got here?
So there was a very interesting story in the Wall Street Journal today about Taco Bell that recently rolled out voice AI ordering at over 500 drive-thrus. And unfortunately for Taco Bell, the reaction from customers have been a little mixed, and it's forcing the company to rethink where and when they deploy the technologies. Now, customers have been complaining about glitches, delays in their orders getting processed, and then, of course, getting the food. And some customers even going to the point of just trolling the system. For example, one of the incidences involves someone asking for 18,000 cups of water, and it's sort of kind of underscored, at least to Dane Matthews, Taco Bell's chief digital officer, to kind of think more carefully about where do they deploy these systems and in what situation. For example, he gave a situation where perhaps you're in a very popular Taco Bell location where you constantly have lines. It might actually be faster if you have humans involved in the process to kind of get those orders taken and then delivered to the kitchen where they make the food and they're out to you. And he, quote, said, "For our teams, we'll coach them at your restaurant at these times. We recommend that you use voice AI, or recommend that you actually really monitor voice AI and jump in as necessary." In other words, have people ready, because this technology, one, is still kind of developing, but two, we're trying to find out where it can best be used. Right? When we came out with the Internet of Things, all sorts of things that were internet, back when dialing in the internet was cool and everyone thought the next big service was online. Not everything could be online and work out as a productive or even better business. And so I think we're at that point with AI, where at least with generative AI, we're trying to figure LLMs, where we're trying to figure out the best use cases for these, where it actually enhances the customer's experience and not necessarily make it worse.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I went to Taco Bell recently through the drive-thru. I talked to a human, and got my stuff, and it was delicious. I'm not gonna lie, it was really good. I had not been to Taco Bell in many years before that, but I think you're onto something here, Roger, where the idea of automating everything, and AI in this sense would be the automation of going to get food, at a drive-through location. This location being Taco Bell is, in theory, great, right? You have to employ fewer employees and all works well. But if it doesn't work well, then, you have a bunch of confused and unhappy customers. You've got people, probably, holding up the line in the drive-thru, just being like, "What's happening? I want my food," that kind of thing. And sometimes a human coming in to be like, "All right, hold on, let's make this work," is actually the better solution, and it was in the first place.
I have never used the AI kiosk at a Taco Bell, but I have used the AI kiosk several times at Wendy's. Wendy's is actually headquartered here in Central Ohio. And here's what my take is on it. It's okay, but it is not terribly difficult to confuse it. So if you say things like, I want an order of a large fries, but I want light salt, the human might ask you, do you mean light salt, or do you want just like not as much salt on the fries? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily know. It can get things like that wrong. And then if you're making significant modifications to your sandwich, like you can say, I want like I want a Dave's Biggie bag or something like that. It'll get that. But it's like, but I don't want any pickles. I want extra ketchup, no mustard, light onion, and can you toast the bread a little bit longer? Those things it struggles with. So the problem becomes is that if you are really relying on AI to take the orders, you probably are going to have less people in the store who can ultimately take orders. So if you get to where you're busy and your AI is not up to speed, this is where the lines come in, because you don't necessarily even have a human that can replace all of the AI lanes. Like I can't imagine that Chick-fil-A would be doing this anytime in the near future. That would be kind of crazy, seeing all the, all the lanes and all the people that they have out there. And you've now got rosy robots out there trying to ask people for their order. That would be kind of nuts. But it's not hard to fool it. This is the true story. You talked about the person, getting the 18,000 cups of water. I used to, as a joke, when I was in corporate and we would have like group meetings someplace, and I've got 15, 20, 30, 40 engineers or people who I work with that are with me, and we'd all be getting our rooms. I would say, well, how many people are here? It's like, oh, it's 28 of us. So when they ask me, well, how many keys do you need? It's like, I need 56 keys, because everybody needs 2 because we'll probably leave one. And they're always looking at, are you serious? It's like, no, I'm not serious. I'm just joking. I just need, buy 2 keys. But if you're talking to a kiosk, it is probably not going to pick up the humor in that.
Right.
Right. Or even be able to have that kind of banter with a non-human, because it's a screen that you're talking to. So I can see where issues would arise by using this, to where, can I order from a human? Do I have to use this? I kind of would probably want to go with the human if that's an option.
I mean, it's not unlike, some like phone tree situations that I get in, where I'm just like, oh, operator.
Yeah, it never goes.
I can't get where I need to be. I just need to talk to a human. And, I consider myself pretty technically inclined, but sometimes you're just like, no, it just, you don't get it. I need to talk to a human.
Well, I mean, the issue I've often found is that a lot of these new technologies are pitched as labor-saving devices, which means you can cut employment count in certain stores, or if you ramp up new stores, you don't need as many people.
Right.
The problem, as Rob so clearly mentioned, is that when you, especially in a restaurant, you have a rush moment, you can't rely on a system that was pre-designed to take in an X amount of people. One of the things you'll notice, at least in the U.S. and at least in all the McDonald's that I've been through, is they all have kiosks instead of a person permanently manning the order station. They still have them, but you have to wait for that person to kind of swing around between making a burger, getting fries, delivering an order to someone through the drive-thru. There's this mentality that these technologies will be able to cut head count. And oftentimes when you go in with that mentality of like, ooh, I don't need as many people, you fail to see where those people are most valuable and why they're there. But you also overestimate what you can do with the technology, because you're looking at a single figure, which is how much less do I have to spend on an employee or employment workforce, versus how do I use this to make it more efficient and more usable by the customer, where they feel, hey, this is a great experience, I'll do it again. As opposed to me, I use the kiosk, I sit around for 15 minutes, and they still can't get my order right.
And I mean, to be fair, kiosks do work well in certain scenarios, right? I mean, this is sort of the modern world that we live in. There are many, I don't know, I'm thinking of like the last time I used like a cool kiosk, it was like for a sushi boat experience, and it worked great. And I didn't see a human the entire time, from order to, finishing my food. But But I think that especially this whole kind of fast food, how do we, how do we move into the future type thing? That is a unique problem because you're going to get a lot of customers. A lot of people want this food.
At least in especially in North America, fast food is predicated on price point less so than, wow, that's the most amazing food, I need to eat there, right? It's often pitched. It's often pitched.
It's good and it's cheap and fast.
It fills you up and you get it quickly.
Yeah. And if your food's already not cheap, right? Like the prices of fast food, a lot of people have been complaining about, have incrementally gone up, right? A Big Mac's $8. And
is it really?
Yeah. And
$8? Oh my goodness.
Well, it could be the meal, but I mean, it's still a lot. And if you take away the convenience factor, you're really cutting away the desire to go there, right? I have to wait for the food. Ordering's a pain in the butt, and it's not that cheap. Like you have a perfect trifecta of driving someone to another place.
Yeah, I was thinking back to when we were at CES earlier this year. We had a meetup, and a bunch of DTNS fans came out and hung out with us. But the hotel that we were in the food area, you didn't go up to the individual restaurant to order your food. You went to a kiosk, and you could order from any of the restaurants that were there. And initially that was kind of cool, but I have a drastic shellfish allergy. So even though I'm able to order there, I run right over to the place I'm getting my food from and say, hey, I've got a really bad shellfish allergy. You need to make sure if there's any shellfish here, you've got to cook my food away from it because it'll make me sick. That's something that's hard to do with an AI bot. So it's maybe it will eventually will get there, but I don't think we're there today. And that's probably why Taco Bell is rethinking their use of AI order takers.
Mm-hmm. I think you're very on point with that. You've got a lot of folks who, it's not just about like, oh, my order got changed or you didn't get it right, but somebody has to be responsible for the fact that this order wasn't right because now my kid is sick.
Yeah,
type thing.
But it sort of hides that, right? When you have these technologies, it sort of adds as a sort of a filter, the same way phone trees work, right? We don't want you hassling our operators because I only have 5. So you're going to dance through this phone tree for about 15 minutes before you can talk to them.
Until
I've tried that today. I get a little angry.
You know what they do now? Now they're like, oh, that entry is not valid. Bye.
Yeah. They flush you.
They flush you. All right, everybody, let's go back to the future. Specifically, Kodak going back to the future with Kodak Digitizing offers, which includes a mail-in service to convert your old media, including VHS tapes, Hi-8 tapes, Betamax tapes, MiniDV tapes, film reels, photos, and also audio into digital formats. If you're like, are cassettes involved? Yes, they are. So customers order a prepaid Kodak Digitizing box. They fill it with their tapes and their photos, whatever they got, drop it off at UPS. Then items are supposedly, says Kodak, hand digitized in a facility in the US, so, made in America kind of thing. And so if you're like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. I got some stuff in my closet, which I do as well. $300 for 10 items. So let's say I have 10 cassettes, $300 for doing that.
$30 for a cassette.
Now, they do have a Labor Day sale, which is whatever, but yes, these are the prices. So you're definitely, you are paying for the convenience. That is what you're doing. I have, and I've talked about this on the show before, I have a variety of VHS tapes, definitely some Hi-8 tapes, but a lot of audio cassette tapes, that have my dad talking on the cassettes that, you'll never hear that voice again type thing. Stuff that is meaningful to me. I love this idea because I've been thinking about this. I just want to digitize things. I don't want physical media in my house. Not everyone feels the same way as me, But I'm like, how do I even listen to a cassette right now?
And,
I have
mean,
I have literally one Walkman behind me. That's the only way I could do it. I want this to be preserved in a more meaningful way. So I'm into this.
I'm into it up to a point. For example, if you have a VHS, like a camcorder tape of something that's super personal and super important to you, you could use the service, but what is their policy if they accidentally screw up the tape? Or
I don't know.
You know
That's
what I mean?
a good question.
If these things, whether it's meaningful to you in a personal sense or something important like, hey, this is a video deposition I need to turn into court, can you digitize it? You need to have some assurances to make sure that whatever gets done, you can feel confident about with the results. Because, and I say this as someone who was a friend of someone who used to do something similar, but on a local scale, you get to see a lot of things, and sometimes the product isn't treated with the
Privacy
utmost
is
care.
not of utmost concern.
Privacy, but also like the qualitative handling of your stuff isn't maybe the best.
Well, that's what I thought was so interesting about the Kodak service. It's like, it's like Kodak. We know what you want.
We know
we're Kodak, and I mean, in many ways, I'm like, I bought a lot of Kodak film over the years, but also it's like, do I put this stuff and just send it off to you and just hope that
what if it gets lost?
whoever's on the other side of this is just going to do the right thing and even name and number it appropriately and send it back to me? It's a lot.
It seems like this is not really a new service. I've heard of services like this before. I actually know someone who used to, you guys remember the old photo marts, the little shack in like the Kmart parking lot. They owned that, and because they actually had long-term leases on their real estate back in like probably 2005 2006. They actually continue to use those where you could go and you could drop off your VHS tapes, and then they would take them and then digitize them and get them back. And what they did was, you had a level of service. It's like, how important is it to you to get this tape back? Then they would put like a level of insurance on that. You paid for it clearly, but they would put a level of insurance on it. I would wonder if there would be something like this. This is kind of expensive, but it's one of those things to where if you don't have a DVD player where you can digitize it yourself, if you don't have a CD player, you don't have a cassette tape player where you could do all this stuff on your own, the convenience of here's 10 pieces of media for $300. Cassette tapes? No, sir. I'm not giving somebody, $300 for 10
I know.
Tapes. But if they're like,
I'm with you on
weddings
that.
of like my kid's sweet 16 birthday parties, if they're of my wedding, if they're of like, my folks, 50th anniversary or something like that, those kind of things I absolutely would want to get, and I'd be willing to pay, $10 a device, or $10 a medium for if I had 10 of them. I would absolutely do that. So I can see myself doing this because I've done it. I've actually sent off wedding tape to get it converted to digital. I've sent off my grandparents' anniversary to get it digitized. I've sent off my mother's birthday party when she turned 27 to actually get that digitized. So I can see doing those kind of things.
Yeah, I think part of me is like, there's sort of no price to put on something that you want to keep preserved. At the same time, $300 for 10 items, and it goes up from there. Very expensive, right? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to pay Kodak for this, sure, there are, one-off companies that I could look into or try to do it myself, which would require me to buy like an old stereo where I could, put in a cassette tape and then I don't even know. I don't even know how to do it at this point.
This is what I did. I had DVC Pro tapes, and I'm sure, Sarah, you have a bunch too from
quite
our
a few.
time.
Yes.
So I had 14 or so I needed to digitize, and if you ever try to find a DVC Pro deck used, they're very expensive. So I rented one for like 2 days, and I digitized everything directly into my PC and made copies. But like I would think
And
having.
like, what was the format that you digitized to?
I just digitized to
Like MP4?
not MP4. I did MPEG 2,
Okay.
and then I have it, and then I.
So it was time consuming.
Yeah, it's time consuming, but it wasn't. It was insurmountable. Like I just left it for like 45 minutes and came back when it was done. But I'm amazed no one has come up with a device/service where you rent the box in the same way you rent a rug doctor to clean your carpets. You
know
just
what?
get the,
I think you're onto something with this.
you just pick it up, you take it home over the weekend, right?
And you do your stuff, and you feel confident that
Yeah.
it's yours.
And most machines made within the past 6 years can easily handle the encoding. It's not like it's not a processor intensive task like it was back in the early 2000s.
See, when I think of that, that makes me want to pay the $300 more because I don't want to do that. I don't want.
Oh,
if I've got to go rent the device and then come home and
either.
do the work myself. How many hours is this going to take me to do it, as compared to what would I've been willing to pay someone to do it for me? So yeah, $300 is pretty steep for a cassette tape.
Yeah,
but for, like I said, VHS tapes, something like that.
You don't have that box of what's mystery tapes. Like, man, what's on this? Not sure if I want anyone else to see it before I do.
You know what?
I mean, I don't have any mystery tapes that I would be like.
Everyone has mystery tapes, Sarah.
Well,
It doesn't
yes,
have
mystery
to.
tapes, but not like something where I would be like, "Oh, it's gonna be so embarrassing when you see this." It's like it would just be, I don't know,
Embarrassing,
my friends and I like
incriminating.
dancing.
You gotta
or
make sure.
doing something stupid.
This was definitely over the holidays last year, but I had a mystery tape, didn't know what was on it, so I put it into, because I still have a VCR, on the other side of my basement. Put it in there, played it. It was Time Bandits, that cinematic masterpiece from the early '80s. That movie, I watched the whole thing.
It was just never
on a
titled.
square television. It had that, because it was one of those TVs that had the VCR built into the TV, and that movie that was my childhood. It's probably truly horrible, but it brought back fond memories.
Oh, Time Bandits. I mean, I think we all watched that.
I mean, it's a Terry Gilliam movie, right?
Yeah.
It has to be good.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. All right, everybody. Now that we've we've gone back to the future, let's check out the mailbag.
Duff writes in on a recent episode, you noted that the rising cost of streaming has been accompanied by a rise in the popularity of physical media such as CDs, DVDs, even cassette tapes. Beyond the cost of subscriptions, I'd like to point out some of the other advantages of physical media. There's the album art, the liner notes, of course, and the simple pleasure of listening to an entire album as the artist had designed it track by track. Also, movies on DVD often have commentary tracks that are unavailable when streaming, and the movie or song you love may disappear from the streaming service at any time. Lastly, having physical disc is the only way to appreciate something like Monty Python's matching tie and handkerchief LP, which had 3 sides.
Did it really? Oh man, I used to love Monty Python. Oh gosh, they were fun. But yes, Duff, we definitely get your vibe. Got a whole vibe going on this show today. But yeah, the physical media, I know what you're talking about. I am very much just I'm subscription based at this point, just because I'm trying to clean out my closets. But there is something that does get missed by not looking at that album art. And I know you can look at album art on the internet, whatever, but it's different, right? It's different than looking at it, in your hand and then opening it up. And I'm thinking of a CD at this point and having like, ooh, and they gave us all the lyrics. Ooh, this is a fun thing. And it's become a little bit more, I don't know, just whitewashed.
Special.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a tactile sensibility and experience to the packaging that the producers knew very well, because that was the whole point. You wanted to feel like you were doing something special, which is why box sets, even like in the LP days, you had special like box sets that came in a box that had all sorts of stuff included in it that made you feel that you were getting something unique. Remember back, and I think in the 70s, 80s, there were special LPs that were printed or written on colored vinyl. Right, it wasn't black. They had blue, they had red,
orange,
they had gold.
purple. Yeah.
Yeah. And those were a sign of like, this is unique. You can't get anywhere else because it was a tactile thing. I'm wondering how much of that is just us kind of reminiscing about it. Because back in the 40s and 30s, people used to sit around the radio to listen to the radio show, but no one says, "Yeah, I want to hang around with 12 other people around a little, oversized radio with a tiny little speaker to listen to, Captain Midnight," because that's the only thing that was going on in the evening.
Somebody
in the 30s.
probably does want to do that.
I'm sure there is. But I think as our generation sort of moves off towards the sunset, I think new sensibilities and new ideas of what is considered to be sort of that seminal experience of new media. It could very well be like sitting through a launch CD. Remember launch CDs? That magazine on a disc, they would have music interviews with the artists and stuff, where they would have like QuickTime videos you would double click on to watch.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but like stuff like that where like, hey, yeah, I want really low res, 2040 by 180 video of like, the lead singer of Pearl, like Eddie Vedder, talking about like the latest concert back in like 1998. It's like, yeah,
But that was still something that, that felt like, a premier option.
Yeah.
That was, if you cared enough, you wanted that.
And what I'm saying is those premier options will shift and those experiences will change because the technology changes. And so maybe it will not be a paper, maybe it won't be a box, but, we grew up with it. So we have a special fondness for it. But if like my kids, you grew up and it's like, why are you listening to a piece of plastic that spins around, that pops and hisses every time you hear the quiet part of the song?
I mean, I'm with your daughters on that one, and I've got a turntable and a bunch of albums, and I'm like, it's so hard. Well, everyone's different. That's the beauty of life. Remember, if you have any comments on the beauty of life, send them to us at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And of course, if you're a patron, you can send a comment on anything that we post to Patreon as well. All right, Rob, as we've gone through the show, we've gotten quite a few show title submissions.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. As Sarah said during the show, you've been submitting your titles over at dtns.showbot.tv, and we've got some pretty good ones over there. Let's start right at the top with Mr. and Mrs. Butterfingers Can Be Expensive by GPEG84.
Oh, I love Butterfingers.
R.I.P. Typepad by Philly Codehound.
Oh, R.I.P. Typepad. I mean, yeah. I mean, mostly dead. Not dead, but mostly dead.
So here's one from the Reverb Mike that I like. Humans are valuable in unexpected ways.
I like Zoe Brings Bacon's 18,000 cups of water, please.
So I'm going to try that. Next time I go, like I said, I don't know if there's a Taco Bell kiosk, but I want to try that at the Wendy's.
Just say like I want 80 cups of water, maybe not 18,000, maybe a.
I'll say a ridiculously large number of cups of water that should trick the thing up.
For anybody who is a fan of the show, I think you should leave. I am. This is actually speaking to me. It's not exactly 18,000 cups of water, but there's a whole skit going on about going through a drive-through and making the person behind you pay for everything that you bought.
Well, Sarah, what did we decide to go with as a title today?
It was a tough one, Rob, but we went with Zoe Brings Bacon's Measuring Authenticity.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Because we're measuring it.
Take notes.
Get it?
I mean,
we're measuring.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I'll save it for the kids.
Roger, speaking of kids, we have some folks to thank today.
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out to our Twitch chat who've been awesome with their conversations as well as supporting us during the show. We have Zoe Brings Bacon who cheers us on with bits each and every time. We're always so grateful to Zoe.
Woo-hoo.
We got 2 hype trains. both 46 minutes ago and 51 minutes ago. G. James B. for resubscribing with Prime. Another hype train before that, G. James B., who continued their sub with a Prime gift to Tier 1 52 minutes ago. Howard Yermish resubscribed with 18 months at Tier 1. G. Pull Alexander resubscribed with Prime. They've been subscribed for 14 months. And we'll give a special shout out to QuietMan97, Java Pants, and Newell for following us.
That's awesome. Thank you, everybody. And folks, as we've been mentioning throughout all the shows this week, we have a schedule change starting next week that we've talked about on Patreon. But for those of you that are not patrons, DTNS Live will be going to a weekly release starting next week. We explain about the change in depth on our Patreon, but here's the short version. You'll get more focused and longer weekly episodes, or a longer episode, which will give us more room to do other things like a weekly live with it, or I should say live with it, product review show. For those who want to watch us live, we'll have some other live streaming things going on as well, including the editor's desk, the return of office hours, and more. And this all starts next week.
This is going to be fun, everybody. We are really, really looking forward to changing up some stuff. And your feedback is of utmost importance to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Of course, just a reminder, you can watch us live 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Back doing it all again tomorrow, Patrick Norton and Len Peralta will be joining us. Hope to see you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.